What's going on, guys? This is Wasim from the Tech Boys, and I have a battle between the Apple iPhone 4S and the brand new iPhone 5. So the reason why I'm doing this comparison is to show you guys if it's worth going from a 4S to a 5. The 4S did come out last year in 2011. I believe it was October 14th, and then the 5 was just released. So let's go ahead and do the comparison video between the 4S and the 5. So first we're going to talk about the design. This is how I always start my video. So we're going to compare how the phone looks. So let's start with the front since we're already looking at that. The iPhone 4S has a 3.5-inch display with a resolution of 640 by 960. So again, this is the same display that we've seen on the iPhone 4 and the 4S. With the iPhone 5, Apple has bumped the screen size up to 4 inches. So that's a 640 by 1136 display. Notice that it's not wider, it's only longer. So if I put the, let's say the 4S on top of the 5, width-wise they're exactly the same. But if I pull the phones down a little bit, you can see that the 5 is slightly longer. I mean, they both have the home button, the earpiece. The front-facing camera has been centered on the iPhone 5, and the bezel is slightly shorter. So the top and bottom bezel on the 5 is a little bit smaller, so it's not as big as the 4S. Now let's flip them over to the back. One of the main differences of these phones is the construction. So let me show this off to you. So with the 4 and the 4S, the front and the back was completely made out of glass. Which really didn't make the phone any drop proof. So you'd see shattered backs, shattered fronts. It looked really nice, but if you want something durable, the 4 and the 4S was not going to be the phone to choose unless you're going to put a case on it. But with the 5, they removed the glass back and they added a aluminum back. So this is the black, and the white would have a pure aluminum gray, similar to what you would find on the iPad. Back-facing camera, still 8 megapixels on each. With the 5, it is a little bit faster when you're taking pictures. As far as the shutter speed, in low light conditions, it's a little bit better. And overall, color clarity is much better. Alright, now let's take a look at the bottom. This is where all the action is happening. So let me pull them together and show you guys what's going on. Alright, so not only do you notice that the 5 is much thinner than the 4S, the 5 is 7.6 millimeters, and I believe the 4S is 9.2, or it could be 9.3. I'll put the little letter box at the bottom to show you. It's much thinner. Apple has finally removed the 30-pin connector, and they added a lightning cable, which is much smaller than the 30-pin. The headphone jack has also been moved to the bottom, which was on the top on the 4S. And overall, it's just a much lighter device. It's thinner, it's lighter, and you're definitely going to notice that in the hand when you're holding both of the phones. So one of the first things I did notice was the weight and the size. The 4S is definitely a lot heavier. With the 5, it's thinner, it's lighter, and it's really a very noticeable difference between the two phones. Alright, so I talked about what's going on the outside of the phones. Now let's talk about what's inside. The 4S has 512 megabytes of RAM to the full gigabyte of RAM, so twice as much RAM. The processor in the Apple iPhone 4S is a dual-core A5 chip. Apple never reveals their clock speed, but the 4S is around 800 megahertz. With the iPhone 5, it's a dual-core A6 chip, which is clocked around 1.3 gigahertz. So you're going to expect very fast processing on the 5 compared to the 4S, and the graphics is, I believe, about 7 times more powerful than the 4S. And that's, of course, thanks to the A6 chip. The battery is a little bit bigger. You're also going to get 4G LTE support on the iPhone 5. With AT&T's network for the 4S, you were stuck on their so-called HSPA Plus network, which was they're calling it 4G, when we really know it's only like 3.5G. With Verizon and Sprint, you only stuck to their 3G network. So if you're definitely on a 4S and you have Verizon and or Sprint, then the 5 might be a really great upgrade because it's 4G LTE. One thing is with the CDMA iPhone 5 model, there is no simultaneous voice and data, so you cannot, be on the phone and use maps at the same time. That's only possible on the GSM model, which is supported by AT&T. Now let's talk about software. Both phones are running the latest iOS 6 operating system, and honestly, they both feature the same exact thing. You're not going to get anything new on iOS 6 with the iPhone 5, other than the bigger screen that apps will take advantage of. Everything else is the same. You have Siri, you have iOS 6, Passbook is pre-installed on this guy, and of course all the enhancements in iOS 6. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys some of the built-in apps that Apple has updated for the iPhone 5's bigger 4-inch display. First, we're going to jump into weather. So there's weather, and here we have it both loaded up. With the 4S, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. You get a little bit more information on the 5, such as the hourly forecast. So you can see I can scroll through the hourly, which I cannot do on the 4S unless I tap on the day. So when I go to Wednesday, I can see the hourly here, but with the 5, I don't have to press anything. It's all nicely placed for me. So that is something different with the iPhone 5, and you're going to see that throughout Apple's iOS 6. So if I go to calendar, obviously you can see more of your events that are listed below. If I go to settings, same thing, you see more. So obviously with the bigger screen, you see more information. And then you do get Do Not Disturb, that's both featured on iOS 6, and everything else is pretty much the same. I'm going to do some speed tests to show you guys how much faster is app launching with these two phones. So first we're going to jump into the App Store. So I'm going to close out of all the applications just so it's pretty fair. And they're both on the same Wi-Fi network, so network speeds should be very similar. Alright, so there we go, they're both closed out. And we're going to go to the App Store and see which loads up the content faster. So they're both loading up, and I'm going to go to Featured. So you can see iPhone 5 did win that. It loaded everything a lot faster. And now we're going to go to the top charts. And obviously the 5 wins again. Now I'm going to try downloading a new app. So we're going to download OpenTable on both phones and see which one downloads it and installs faster. So the 4S had like a millisecond lead and it's done installing, and the 4S is done too. So a little bit faster, but really not noticeable. So if you're downloading apps and you want to know which one downloads, they're pretty much very similar. You might get a second faster on the 5. So now we're going to go and actually open the application. Alright, so we're going to open up CNN and see which iPhone launches it faster. Now we're going to open up the CNN app and see which phone opens it faster. So they're both loaded up, and we're gonna tap on them. And the iPhone has everything loaded up. The 4S is pulling the content, and now it's good. So you can see all the content is on the 5 and as well as the 4S. And again, you can see more of what you're doing on the phone. Now we're gonna open the web browser to see which phone loads up quicker. So there's the web, and the web on both phones. So I'm going to load up The Verge. So there we go, they're both on the phones, and I'm going to press go. Okay, and you saw the iPhone slightly beat out the 4S. And we're going to go to, let's go to the New York Times. New York Times. .com, and go. And the 5 has finished loading the page. And now the 4S is almost there. It just needs, and it's finished. And now the 5 is playing the video. Let's see the 4S start playing it. So you can see the debate was going on, and the 5 actually pulled up the video much faster than the 4S. So it was probably about 7 to 10 seconds ahead as far as pulling all the information from the New York Times website. So that is very good with the iPhone 5. Alright, now I want to do a Siri speed comparison. They're both on the same Wi-Fi, and I'm just going to activate Siri and ask her a few questions and see what happens. What's the weather outside?
Nice weather coming up through Monday. Up to 79 degrees and partly sunny.
So the 4S actually pulled up the information faster than the iPhone 5. It's still pulling it up. We'll see what happens. Let's just ask.
Looks like nice weather coming up through Monday. Up to 79 degrees and partly sunny.
Cool. So let's ask her something else. Where is Paris, France?
Okay, here's Paris. Okay, here's Paris.
So the 5 pulled up the information faster. It looked like the weather was just a small glitch. What was the score of the San Francisco 49ers game?
The 49ers pounded the Jets by a score of 34-0 last Sunday.
So you can see that was exactly at the same time. So very similar as far as sports scores. Find me an Italian restaurant nearby.
I found 11 Italian restaurants. 8 of them are fairly close to you.
So that was the same thing. Set a timer for 1 hour.
Okay. Your timer is set for 1 hour.
Again, 5 is slightly faster. Where you're gonna see the 5 faster is when you're on 4G LTE compared to 3G or regular 4G on the 4S. So with LTE, it's much faster than the 4S. But as far as Wi-Fi performance on the same speed, you're looking at very similar results. Now we're going to pull up the camera on both phones. So they're both 8 megapixel sensors. They're very similar as far as features. They have the panorama, they both have HDR, the grid. So other than the camera interfaces that's a little bit different, everything's the same as far as using the camera. So you can take the picture of this. Autofocus works, face detection works, everything is there. And the same with the iPhone 5. The only advantage of what you're getting with the 5 compared to the 4S is the shutter speed and the low light conditions. So it's a little bit better than the 4S, but really it's not a huge difference. Alright you guys, this has been my comparison of the Apple iPhone 4S and the iPhone 5. Bottom line, if you have an Apple iPhone 4S, you do not have to upgrade to the 5. It's a little bit faster, it's on LTE, but other than that, you're getting the same exact features. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you thought it was helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have our Twitter. Please follow us so you know when we post more videos. And thanks for watching.